AMG family, Mondo here. Hey, just wanted to make sure real quick before we get started that you guys have subscribed to the AMG Podcast channel. Go below if you can't see it, look a little, scroll down, whatever you got to do. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us immensely here at the AMG Podcast. The second thing we need you to do is turn on your notifications. That way, anytime we drop new content, you are the first to be notified. That way we can grow together. We can learn in life together and do life together. All right. So with that said, let's get to it. All right, what's going on, family? It's Mondo here with AMG Podcast. I am here with my boy, my colleague, my friend, and my business partner, man, Travis Helm. What's up, homie? What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, what's good, man?
Hey, man, we've been working together for a little bit, and we've had several conversations about a lot of things, but one thing in particular I know is key and near and dear to your heart, and it's the subject of teachers and the occupation of being a teacher and educator and being in that field. And so we're going to have a talk about some things today, man, have a conversation. I hope that those who are listening can get some information, gather some things from us, maybe even perspective. And hopefully something's, enlightening where you may want to talk to us further about what we're discussing. All right. So with that said, we have a pretty loose agenda. There's just some, I guess Travis's heart is full and we're going to let it spill, brother.
Hey, I appreciate the space to be able to do so, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So real quick though, before we get into all that, for those who don't know you or me, but mainly you, um, do you have background in education? Like talk to us about that, your experience.
Yeah, definitely. A decade.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 years. 10 years strong. Most of it in high school. So working with the ones that are about to go into the real world and trying to help them prep to get into the real world.
Yep.
But had like a 2-year stint at a preschool too. So like the ones coming into the system, getting started with their education, getting started with their learning experience, socialization, all that. So, most of my career has been in the classroom. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, man, that's a big shift though. I was thinking you said high school, then all of a sudden
And then preschool.
Then the little bitties. That's a massive shift. Wow. Okay. Cool. So we can get to that the weeds later of that, man, because that's interesting.
Yeah. And
Okay. Cool.
again, the preschool is temperate. Like it was a homeboy of mine that needed the support to get one of his schools up and running and going and stuff like that. So it was a temporary experiment, if you will. I wanted to know what early childhood development really consisted of, to be honest. So for me, it was a learning experience, but definitely not like as a teacher. I think each teacher has what they're suited for, and I would say I'm, a high school teacher when it comes down to it.
I got it. Okay, cool. So before we dig into the nitty gritty, the only experience I have is more secondhand experience. My wife was a teacher, so there was a teacher. There was a teacher in my house. There was a good friend of ours was the headmaster at the school, and living with her, being with her, going through that experience and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have firsthand. So anything I say is literally from that perspective.
Hey, that secondhand role is pretty important though.
Yes,
The job is demanding. And so whoever that secondhand person is, like, it also, what would you say as her secondhand during that time was one of the challenges that you experienced with her just being in that profession?
The challenge was managing the stress, and not bringing it home. Right. And not that she can't, do the job, but the stressors, excuse me, that came with the job. There was a lot. My wife can carry a lot. She's really good at handling a lot of things. But the dark side of it is it did start affecting her health, which prevented us from being able to do certain things as a family. So we pulled the plug. Because it's like, it's not the little salary you making, sweetheart, is not worth your health. I'm sorry. So it's time to chuck the deuce and go figure out something else to do. So
that's exactly why my heart is heavy, man. A
Yeah.
lot. Some of the most talented people I've ever known as humans, honestly, like some of the teachers I've worked with as humans, as professionals, it's like they're unstoppable. Like what they're capable of doing is out of this world. And, seeing those humans be affected the way that they are, especially when their health starts to decline, which is common. I would say every place I've taught, Um, each school year, there's at least I can think of 2 to 3 teachers off the top of my head that would have some type of, issue, and usually
Mm,
it was a debilitating issue that would
wow.
happen,
Yeah.
like something pretty intense
Yep.
that would either cause them to have to leave the classroom or, take a month, a sabbatical, do something to prioritize their health because it wasn't an option not to.
Dude. So,
At
okay.
least at least 2 to 3 a year, I would say.
Wow. Wow. That's intense, man. That's
Mhm.
and she was at a little small little startup private school. So
Mhm.
it wasn't even like in the system.
Mhm.
And she was experiencing that. So you said something to me earlier when we were discussing the call. I thought it was very interesting about the perception from the public that teachers are more public service, almost like EMTs or firefighters or something, when
Mhm.
in actuality, these are educated professionals,
Mhm.
right, that are in the educational field. Speak to like the thing I'm not going to repeat it because I can't say it as well as you did, but just yeah, unpack that what you
Mhm.
told me. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that it's common in society for people to know teacher or ask people, "What do you do for work?" "Oh, I teach." And the first response is, "Thank you for your service." And the problem that I personally had with that is it's like, well, I'm not a volunteer, right? Like, like
Yeah.
I'm not doing this out of the kindness of my heart so that everyone else in society benefits.
Right.
And I think that to people from other professions, lawyers or engineers or whatever, they kind of see it as like, oh, you sacrifice, so that for the greater good. And as true as that is in a way, right,
Hmm.
that teachers are doing things out of the kindness of their heart,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yep.
We're professionals.
Yep.
We're not servants, we're not volunteers. We
Mm,
are active professionals. And I don't think that people in every career field understand what the professional life of a teacher is actually like,
mm,
as a professional, as a career. Like that day to day is not something you're doing just out of service. You're doing it out of a place of like, I need to be a high performing professional that gets the job done, you know?
that is so good, man. I've never seen teachers in that other light. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a person, not that I'm some sort of like whatever, but I just never seen teachers anything other than professionals.
Mm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never. That's interesting that you would experience that, and I guess, apparently, other teachers experience that. I would have never thought that because I've always thought, yeah, man, like y'all are getting paid, y'all went to school, you got
Mm-hmm.
certifications, you have a boss, you have structure. There's a superintendent, principal, all these other people, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's a job. That's not like a
Oh yeah.
volunteer, like infrastructure. You know what I'm saying?
No, no,
That's
I
a
think it,
job.
and I don't think that people actually think we're volunteers. It's more so the tone of the
It's the
comment.
tone, right? Yes,
You
yes,
know what
yes,
I
yes, yes,
mean?
yes.
Like, when
I follow
someone's
you.
saying like, kind of like, oh, well, you get summers and you work with kids. I go to a real job where we sit in business meetings and we do XYZ and we execute XYZ. I think there's just this subtle subconscious perception that teachers, because they're working with kids and because
Mhm,
they get summer break,
mhm,
the job is not necessarily a job in that professional sense. That's the tone,
mhm.
and that was like the subtle undertone of what I would hear whenever people would ask me. They're like, oh,
Wow,
okay.
interesting.
So I'd always double back with like, I wake up at 3:30, 4 in the morning every morning to do 3 hours of work before I get to school at 6. And then I'm going to do 6 to 7, depending on which year I was teaching, but 6 to 7 classes back to back, which are high performance level. In
Mhm,
between that, I'm going to have 4 to 5 professional meetings. And after all that's said and done at 5 o'clock, I'm going to have at least 2 to 3 hours of work that night,
mhm.
minimum, of
Right,
grading or lesson planning or whatever the case.
right.
And all of that has to be on point. There is no downtime during that day, or at least when I was teaching in the high schools that I was taught at, like there was
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
we were in school from 7 to 5 usually.
Good
I was usually
night.
there. Yeah, I would usually get there at like 6 at the early or at the latest. Um,
Wait, what the heck? What time was the last class over? That we started at 7. It was done. It started at the last class started at what time?
So it depended on the year. We switched out schedules, but the
Okay, I was about to
last
say.
2 or 3 to 4 of the years, our last class started at 4 and ended at 4:55.
Good God, man. That is it. I mean, my school was 7, well, we was 7:20 to 2:15 or something like that.
Bro,
Like,
well, to be fair, I was in charter schools. So,
oh, okay.
mhm,
That's a different ball
mhm,
game. Okay.
mhm.
Different ball game. Got it. Moving on.
I failed to mention that part.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did. Yeah, you did. That's
Mhm,
interesting. So it's
mhm,
what's interesting. We have a good friend of ours has actually done some work with us. She's out of Georgia. She works with the educational system or Department of Education in Georgia,
mhm,
and I don't know her exact role, but anyway, she's one of those individuals. She's not in schools, but she's like an advocate for teachers, an
mhm,
advocate for the children. She
mhm,
puts on programs, raises funds, different things like that, making sure that she's connecting different organizations. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
her department works with other departments in other states. Like
mhm.
she also connects different school districts. I don't know her exact role, but it sounds busy and fun and very interactive, right? So long story short, she had talked to me about and what we do at AMG in financial services, and she said that there's not enough financial care or even acumen offered to teachers in regards to what just different subjects, right?
Mhm.
Whether it be asset protection, whether it be wealth accumulation, whether it be retirement, whether it be whatever. And I know there's other areas too, but that's what she brought up to me, and she had asked me my thought on certain things, and we talked about it. But I'm curious to know what type of professional care or professional what was it called development is put into teachers to not just further their acumen in what they do every day, but actually to further the life of the person who's teaching.
Mhm.
Like, how much effort goes into that? Is it? I don't know. I don't have. I'm really genuinely interested in knowing this.
Bro, that's a great question. And the truth is super minimal. As much as the HR department says that they need to do, they'll
Hmm.
offer. It's like, but the minimum basis. But now, it's not from a place of them, the school districts genuinely not caring. That's not necessarily where the reason for teachers not having that opportunity most of the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Most of the time, the root issue is that when you get started, you're behind.
Hmm.
So at whatever time you get to school on a given day, or whatever time at the beginning of the school year you're starting, whether that's August or July or
Yeah.
whenever,
Hmm.
you're behind. Like you have lesson plans and curriculum to design for the year. You have target goals that you need to set with your managers, and things that you need to like really think through. You have to prep your classroom.
Hmm.
You're always working from a place to where there's like way too much that you have to do.
Hmm.
So the professional aspect, or the professional development in terms of how do you take care of yourself,
Hmm.
is inherently going to come last.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
they'll offer it at times, right?
Sure.
Especially related to mental health, right? Like for teachers,
Mm.
especially these days, the school district will offer it. Like they'll come through at the beginning of the year and say, hey, for you, we want to XYZ, right?
Yeah.
But I'll give you a tangible example. For the benefit of teachers, one of the elements that, in terms of your personal ability and professional ability, is how many students you have in class.
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's so much research and development around like what the idea learning environment and ecosystem would be. And
Hmm.
every true educator knows that like 12 to 15 to 18 students max is
Hmm.
ideal in a classroom if you want for their development to be as fruitful as possible, and also your sanity to be
Hmm.
in check,
For
right?
real. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you get over the 18 mark, and you as a professional have to deal with so many other things. Like you have to deal with the literal space You have to deal with
Mm,
differentiating for more students than you can handle. You have to
yeah.
deal with knowing that some of those students are going to get left behind because you cannot give your time to everybody, etc.
Hmm.
So personally, that affects you a lot, right? That's where the health comes in, etc. Every year that I taught, this conversation happened. During we'd have 2 weeks of professional development before the kids got to school. Okay, we're going to try and get anywhere from 15 to 18 max. And then I would look
Mm,
at my roster, and 25 was the least amount that I had in any of my classes, and 30 was the most.
wow.
I'm like, like what? Why did we spend like 3 hours on in July talking about you're going to do XYZ for us when
Wow.
ultimately it won't happen?
Wow.
Teachers are promised. The finances is another massive element of teachers'
Sure.
livelihood, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a school district that I worked for. Thank goodness this was after, like, 2 years after I left that district, but they made a ton of promises around financial incentives if you can meet certain marks in terms of your AP scores and standardized tests.
Mm,
Um, 2 years after the fact, they found out that they filed incorrectly with the state, and none of the teachers that were eligible for that bonus were going to get it. There's a lot of
mm,
in the professional side of teaching in terms of admin, APs, principals, executive directors, superintendents, whatever. They're so good at making promises in the beginning of the year,
hmm.
not keeping them at all, blaming their inability to keep those promises on the hectic nature and chaos of the school and the environment. And then at the March or April, being like, hey, this year we were going to XYZ, but
Yeah.
and they start in March or April to tell you, but next year, really, we have a CFO that's coming in, and they're going to clean all this up, and we're giving everybody $2,000 bonuses that is staying on, etc. Knowing that, it's just the same rhetoric, but they need teachers to re-sign their contract for the following school year. That's, so they'll I can't tell you how many of the same promises I got year to year. And then, it's like the cycle. March, April comes around, they make the re-promise,
Mm.
and give you the reason though. Oh, we'll be honest, this year we just didn't quite hit the mark. But next
So
year, here's the plan.
wait, it sounds like a sales pitch to get teachers to renew their contracts. If I'm being
Correct.
outsider, saying like just what it is, like
Correct.
that's the heads trying to ensure that they have a proper staffing for the
Hmm.
next year, and they better sell their behind off
Yeah.
to put butts and seats in that teacher seat. You know what I'm saying? Like they better,
Exactly. And
yeah,
it's just more cost effective too, because when they
yeah,
have to bring in new teachers, new staff, like they have to train that person, they don't know
right,
if they're reliable. Some school districts
right.
will lose their new teachers that are first year in like October or November because it's just too hectic of a job for that
Mm,
person. So they'll leave, right? So you really don't want to have, you don't want to have like 30 to
yeah,
40% of your staff being first year
right.
teachers.
Oh
You
no,
want
no,
to retain those older tenured
right,
teachers because they have classroom management skills that are invaluable. They
right,
have content skills that are invaluable.
right.
Um, but having been retained from some of the school districts, like every year that you are good at something, they're going to stack something else the next,
Mm.
you know?
So okay, wow, man, like I'm getting like anxiety just listening to some of the realities of this.
Bruh.
Well, and not because of just what you're saying, but I put my wife in that, and I see it's like man, like I see it, and I've talked to
Mm,
a lot of teachers. I actually have quite a few of clients who are teachers and or educators of some sort, man, and these are the very things that they're saying. Now, of course, I'm hearing you say it, and I'm hearing from different sources and at home. I was like, yeah, not all y'all lying. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
there's a common denominator here that there's a lot of these truths you're speaking and like are actually true. It's not
Hmm.
subjective.
Yeah.
These are objective truths that it is what it is. It's reality. One of the things that obviously is like kind of just very common conversation or something that people know is that teachers are underpaid uh,
Hmm.
drastically. And as important as the skill set and the talent is to our society, it is definitely not appreciated by the powers that be, if you will, whoever controls the money. I don't know who does. far as, school
Yeah.
districts, whatever, I don't know. But, um, and what's sad is that, you have people, okay, I'm gonna speak from experience and clients where, people who have taught for 8 to 12 years even, around your ballpark, and they get burned out because they get tired of being lied to,
Mhm.
um, and inflation is hitting. Salaries aren't increasing and keeping up with inflation.
Mhm.
They're the fatigue. And some of these teachers, when they started their profession, they were single. And
Mhm.
as time has gone on, they've gotten married and have children.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And so there's more dynamic there. Then there's the financial pressure, and then there's, well, now I got to do something during the summer to make
Mhm.
ends meet, or maybe I need to do something on the weekends during the school year so I can make ends meet. And
Mhm.
my hubby has to work 2 jobs, and I teach, and I work on the weekends just so we can make ends meet. And we have a kid now. Like it's this big thing. And then, one particular person I'm thinking about just chucked a deuce, and I'm gone. I'm out after 12 years.
Mhm.
I'm out. No,
Yeah.
I'm about to die, like
Mhm. Mhm.
mentally, spiritually, financially,
Yeah.
and heck, even physically, really, because I know some things developed.
Mhm.
So when people are tapping out, is there anything good or decent or whatever that they leave with? Like you invested, a decade of your life, right? Outside of just being fulfilled by there's some good stuff that came from it, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Well, I'm assuming. But at some point,
Definitely.
like you
Definitely.
and like
Yeah, I
you,
mean,
yeah. So when y'all tap out, like what's going on right there where these teachers are saying, you know what, enough is enough.
so I wanna name a couple of things. One, it's most common that teachers tap out, that it ends up that way,
Okay.
and so
Yeah.
why? And I think the why is that if you, especially when you're good at doing it and you really understand like how to be effective at helping young people develop their mind and develop their
Mm-hmm.
life,
Mm-hmm.
you love the ability to do it as a
Mm-hmm.
profession.
Mm-hmm.
It is super rewarding. So you don't want to leave your classroom. You don't want to
Okay.
leave your environment and your habitat that you're good at.
Sure.
You're meant
Sure.
to be there, and your work is meaningful and impactful and matters. So a lot of teachers hold on for a lot longer because they don't want to leave that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they feel like you are in a position where it's like, if I leave this, I know students who are in the pipeline who I would have taught next year who may have a gap because I am leaving. You feel personally responsible. So
Got
you
it.
hold on for another year, or you hold on for another 10 years, right? But man, it sucks because the truth and the reality is that it's like homeless veterans
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, in my mind, that when teachers leave, it can be very difficult to reposition
Oh, I've seen it before.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
you've
Yep.
hit that point,
Mm-hmm.
you're gassed, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
done
Mm-hmm.
to go and then, like get all of your certs to become an engineer, or, go back to school, or, transition to a brand new environment, field, etc., can be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of employers on the other end don't recognize the real superpowers that teachers have, like their
True.
ability to
True.
break down information, to disseminate that information to groups of people within a quick amount of time in a way that's understood, to be able
Wow.
to take a really complex issue or topic and break it down to anybody within
Mm-hmm.
40 minutes and have everyone engaged, everyone paying attention, and everyone understand at the end of it, what do we learn? This, and this. Most
Man.
people can't go into board meetings and do that. Most people can't go into marketing meetings and do that. It's not, the professional world is not as dynamic as the teaching world. It's just not. The teaching world is so dynamic because you have to be able to get your learners who need like some type of kinetic learning. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
them engaged, you have to have the room engaged, you have to
Mm-hmm.
manage the room and
Mm-hmm.
manage your
Well,
time, every day, 5 days a week,
you're connecting some
five
dots
times
for
a
me.
day.
You're connecting so many dots, man. The teachers that I know that former teachers that I know that have, gone on to other occupations, whether it be in marketing, corporate sales, whatever. Um, even my wife, she's had a couple of jobs since then. You know, she was a CrossFit coach at one point, so those teaching skills translated very
Hmm.
well,
Definitely.
coaching slash teaching. She worked at a holistic chiropractic office, so
Mm-hmm.
that translated very well.
Hmm.
So it's very, and even my clients, I'm thinking about what you're saying is so true, man. Like, so teachers are some of the most under, or I said, overlooked
Hmm. Definitely.
overlooked talent.
Hmm.
And I look at a couple of people I know, one of my guys, Dan, and others who were teachers, and you put them in different environment, and they are wonderful at communicating. They are wonderful with structure. They are wonderful with training. They are wonderful with process, right? And usually one of the more disciplined individuals in an organization. And so I think that's pretty phenomenal for those who are in hiring folks and doing hiring. Finding some
Hmm.
teachers that, or former teachers, people that either retired or either they moved on from the field. That's interesting, man. Interesting. And
Yeah.
so that's great. Wow.
So,
Wow.
and
Okay.
so two things, man. I don't want to be on a soapbox and only on a soapbox. Like the soapbox is necessary because I don't think people really understand
Sure.
the true reality of a teacher's professional life
Hmm.
or personal life.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, and I know you know this with Selena, if she was working during the week, it would give her the a bit, like if she was working after hours, after school,
Hmm.
grading and doing all that, it would give her the ability to have the weekend, right?
Right.
But if she didn't work after hours during the week, that
Hmm.
meant she had to do it on the weekend.
Right.
You have to choose one or the other.
Yeah. That's
You
true.
don't get both.
That's true. That's
And
very
then
true.
people think you get summer. And for me, at least, like I had maybe a month and a half of summer, at least 3 weeks of that was in training.
Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And the
Yeah. Yeah.
rest of it, I was designing. I would always design my curriculum during the summer,
Yeah.
always, because I
Yeah.
did not want to do that when the school hit. I didn't have time.
Right. Right.
So, it's like a tremendous amount of my summer was really my ability to work from home or work from
Mhm.
a coffee shop, just not have to be in front of students.
Yeah. Right.
Which
Right.
most of the time I still did something with students to lead them into the next year. Like I did a lot of leadership programming and stuff like that. And the only time I had like time to really dive deep with them was the summer.
Wow.
So anyway, that being said, there are two things I want to accomplish here tonight. And one is to present some solutions, right? I think that there are three solutions in mind that I think anybody in society could contribute to and at least be a part of. Number
Okay.
one, um, for folks that are hiring, like prioritize teachers. Like literally tell your HR department we should hire people who are coming out of the teaching profession because XYZ. Or if you have your own company, marketing company, whatever, like hire a teacher as a consultant, like pay
Mm.
them for some type of work, because I
Yeah.
guarantee their skill set is going to be higher than the common person.
Boy, what you said. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I would agree.
So number one, just, if you're in that position, like look for them and hire
Yeah.
them, as like
Yeah.
that's your service back. Like be like, I want to find 2 to 3 teachers to hire for whatever our software company, whatever it is.
Mm.
Number two, the second solution, I think for teachers who have that entrepreneurial spirit,
Hmm.
um, this one's personal to me.
Okay.
I work with AMG.
Hmm.
We're in financial strategy, and I love it. Like I love it because we teach things to people that are valuable and change their lives.
Hmm.
But we're working with adults across the board. Every
Hmm.
class, every demographic, every person. I love that.
Hmm.
Um, One of my goals with this job and my dream for this job is to be able to self-finance my own learning space.
Oh, okay.
So I would like to have my own classroom,
Hmm.
outdoors, nature-based.
Oh, come on now.
Hmm. And I don't like schools, like the environment. Um, and I want to offer cognitive behavioral therapy through gardening.
Oh, that's
So,
cool, man. That's
hmm
cool.
so like mental health and wellness through gardening. And I plan to finance it myself
Hmm.
And the way I saw those dots connect and me, because I've had this idea for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
but honestly, Mondo, it wasn't until I met you
Mm-hmm.
and you put me, and I'm not, this isn't just a plug for AMG. I mean, it is and it isn't, but the
Sure.
plug
Sure.
is real because when you told me about IULs and how it works and what you can do in terms of private financing,
Sure. Yeah.
it connected. I'm like, I've been looking for you.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
You
Makes
know
sense.
what I mean?
Yep.
Because I can now finance my own learning space because I
Yeah.
would like to be in education to some level, but honestly, I'd also like it to be on my time. So I might do it, twice a
Sure.
week in the
Yeah.
afternoon for,
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
but not full time in the classroom. But AMG and specifically the vehicle, the IUL, that vehicle will help me do it to where now I don't have to go get grant funding and answer to the government or somebody else that's going to not be in alignment with my project,
Yep.
or go get a funder who's going to, pull the
Sure.
funding and
Yep.
not really want it to go the way that I know it can go.
Ooh, boy, oh boy. This is good, man. This is good. I'm proud of you, man, because that is the freedom that we teach, right? That's the freedom that we teach when you can utilize certain tools, leveraging tax codes the right way, the
Mm-hmm,
way they were written,
mm-hmm,
uh, and not some sort of TikTok hustle or hack,
mm-hmm.
but
Definitely.
literally irs.gov
Mm-hmm,
codes and knowing what they say and how to work them, right? That's really
mm-hmm.
what it is. And so the fact that we've seen several people, and now that you're hip to it, be able to do what you just said for themselves, the entrepreneur person, there's a lot of teachers, man, that are going into entrepreneurship, tons,
Definitely.
whether it be full-time or part-time,
Definitely.
and
Definitely.
it's fantastic. And having a tool like this that it offers even more opportunity, more freedom, more control, and way more benefits that they can get involved in, strategize, and benefit for themselves and control. Like, how can you? Yeah, dude, this is great. So you're a great example of that, man. And that's why my wish is that a lot of teachers see this so you can say like, wow, I need to know more about that. Like, what
Mm-hmm,
is that right there? Like,
mm-hmm,
and that's again, let's learn together. I always say let's learn together, let's grow together so we can do life together.
mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of people that we're looking for here at AMG. That's why you and I gravitated to each other, which is fantastic. Not to have like a bromance real quick, but but I think it's phenomenal, man. So entrepreneurs, bro, entrepreneurs with teachers going into that space and learning about the vehicles. That's fantastic. All right, so that's two out of three.
Yeah, it's 2 out of 3.
What's that third one, man?
Man, annuities.
Oh, Willie. Okay, holla at me.
Yeah,
What you
and
think about?
I'll tell you why, because the hardest part of transitioning for me out of teaching was
Mhm.
the period in which I'm like, all right, I can't teach anymore. And to be transparent with you, the last year I taught was 2019, right before COVID.
Got it.
I made a mistake. I should have waited it out. I should have made it through COVID because that year for teachers was amazing. They were
Mm-hmm.
like Zoom calling their classes and
Mm-hmm.
and getting paid. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like the most lax year for teachers that I'd heard of. But I made the mistake. I left the year before, but it was because I was starting to go manic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't sleeping. I was sleeping like 3 to 4 hours a night.
Right.
Most nights like 1 to 2 hours.
Whew.
I was just pushing it, and so that was the last year I could do it. I was really trying to, but also as an entrepreneur, I was trying to be ambitious, and I wanted to teach high school students how to write legislation. Like that
Okay.
was my goal. And that year, 2019, I had a group of 4 students I trained for 2 years, author a bill that hit the House
Oh
that
wow.
session in Texas.
Dude, that's serious, bro. I love
Hmm,
that.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. It was killer. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, it went to the House floor. It didn't get voted through, but man, it was like, and they went start to finish and did the whole thing. And
Man, I'm
so,
shoot, that's dope. That's dope. Like my skill says, like, yeah, I taught a couple teenagers how to make pancakes. You're like, you're like writing legislation. That's
bro, I
awesome, man.
mean, it was, man, it was awesome. It was awesome to see
That's
because they
great.
could shift the infrastructure we have. But
Okay.
the problem was, I just didn't, it wasn't like the same type of thing as an entrepreneur where if you do something on the side that was
Mm,
obviously extra outside of class, etc.,
right.
you don't get paid for it and you might get recognized for it.
Mm,
So, it's like you don't have financial incentives in that industry. And so when you're leaving and you like hit that wall, whatever the personal teacher may be,
right.
you're like, I need to leave, I gotta go. It is so hard to get your mind around like, what do I do next?
Correct.
Or before, if I give myself time to figure it out, maybe I drive Uber or do something like that. You feel so drained that you have, and also usually your bank will drain itself pretty quick because
Oh yeah.
you didn't
Be
have a
prepared.
whole lot that was saved
Hmm.
up as a teacher most of the time, unless if you
Hmm.
have a significant other that's a breadwinner that isn't a teacher,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
that you're sweating, almost off the rip. And so the reason I say annuities is because of the fact that you can draw some level of immediate income.
Yeah.
I had a 403b, um, and then I'd had a 401k from a previous company. I cashed them both out. Guess what? Like you already know,
Yep.
got
Yep.
taxed, right?
Taxes smoked you. Yeah. There you go.
Smoked me, right?
Yeah. Right.
So like didn't get nearly as much money as what I was hoping, but I had to cash out because it was during COVID.
I got it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Had I known I could have rolled into an annuity, would have changed my life. Like literally
Yeah.
would have changed my life because
Hmm.
I could have at least had that 10% withdrawal coming to
Hmm.
me, which would have
Hmm.
at that time helped significantly.
Sure.
As well as, I'd be getting close to that 10-year vested end where I could start drawing income.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if that was the case, I would have been able to draw income 2020. I'd be under 40, right?
Dude, that's so huge, man. So to your point, I know a lot of teachers that had to do that. Many even clients. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when we, it's funny how you bring that full circle because we have a lot of educators who have come to us and said, "Hey, we're talking about whatever we're talking about in the conversation. Their 403s pop up, 401ks, maybe their IRA, but typically 403 and 401."
Mm-hmm.
And I hear it all the time if they've been working longer or they started like before COVID, and I always hear this. Yeah, I've got some left. Well, what do you mean left? Well, I claimed hardship and I took out blah blah blah, or I cashed out and this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
This whatever version, and it's crazy. It's because then when I teach them about annuities and what they could have done. And some of them have enough to where we could still roll over, what they have and put some gasoline on it, get that growth that they were hoping to have in that other vehicle. But it's pretty fascinating to hear how COVID and even just the life of a teacher, everything we've talked about the last 45 minutes, how the life and the realities can really get people into survival mode where they're like, I'm tapping into not just the checking and savings, but I'm the piggy bank, the shoebox, the ashtray, and my 401k. I everything. And
Yeah.
and so that's interesting that you say the third point was bringing into it annuities and so basically I said preserving the retirement plan, not just preserving, but building and accumulating the retirement plan that they intended on doing a while ago, but life hit them upside the head and deterred that plan. But there's a way to save it, right?
Yeah.
There's a way to
Yeah. I
save it.
mean, honestly, in an ideal world, man, I would love not to say that not to talk about other vehicles and how they work, but
Hmm.
I wish there would be school districts that would be bold enough to allow us to come in and talk about annuities off the rip
So
to
it's
where they
interesting
could
you say
vest,
that.
they could vest in annuities off the rip because with that
Yeah,
10% withdrawal, man, you don't understand that like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to a teacher a
yeah,
year is
yeah.
significant.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I know when my wife was teaching, it would have been. I mean, if somebody said you can draw out an extra $1,000, that would have felt like probably $10,000 to her.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of those teachers would then go and fund their classroom. You know what I mean? They would take it and be like, I can go and because the school
Right.
districts may not or whatever. And that is the heart of the teacher, but still, like, or they could
Right.
fund their entrepreneurship. And I do think that every teacher should have a side hustle that they're making
Oh,
really good money on.
100%. Having that side hustle, being an entrepreneur, why not? Because you never know what it can grow into, you know?
Definitely.
Dude, that's so good, man.
But the hardest part is finding those additional funds. And I think that
That's true.
if I had had an annuity in, like, let's say 2015, 2016, man, that legislative project would have gone, we would have taken it to the federal level
No,
easily.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. I have a couple people that came to mind as you're speaking about this who have told me about some school districts. This is in Georgia, I believe. I said, hey, has any, because they asked me like would I consider coming in to do what you said. There was, of course, a lot of red tape.
Hmm.
A lot of you got to do this, you got to fill this out, you got to, it was all these different things. I'm like, sure, 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 okay. It was so much paperwork that it just frayed at the end, and both myself and the other party were like, "What happened?"
Hmm.
And we
Did you
could
ever
we,
get an
we
answer?
no, because they don't know. They were like, we were, I thought we were making progress. I'm like, I'm relying on y'all. Like, if y'all don't know, I definitely don't know.
Hmm.
So, um, but then one lady said, well, I remember about a couple years ago, we had a group, a financial group, come in and talk to, in a part of the professional development, right, the professional development, and talk about annuities. And, they had all the teachers, administrators talk to these folks, this, that, and the other. But it was like a car wash. It was like in and out, in and out, in and out. It wasn't anything. I said, hold on a second. How are you going to have like an assembly line for retirement?
Hmm.
As personal as that is,
Yeah, man.
how in the world are you just in and out, in and out? No, 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 no. When you are helping, this, when we help people with their retirements, whatever it's coming from or moving to, this is a relationship we're building. This is not just a weekend girlfriend kind of situation. No, this is, we're getting booed up. Like this is a marriage, a financial, relationship where we're going to be in it for the long haul here, because we are honored to help you with your financial vehicle that's going to be there for your golden years in your retirement. And it makes us happy to know that you're going to be happy living your best life, checking off that bucket list in your retirement years. And we had a part to play in positioning you to be able to do that. Like that's what we get off on. That's our heart. It's and man, to see people. I'll give you an example. I know one lady. She was an instructor in the army. Okay,
Hmm.
and she's got a great retirement um, coming. Retiring at the end of the year, and so we're making plans right now. And I've seen this lady cry twice on Zoom, because when I showed her that her retirement would be depleted in 13 years if she did not do this. And I said, okay, now take this information back to HR and walk them through it, show it to them, and have them do math with you to see and to check me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I was nice. I said 13. It was a little under 13. So to come back and see people saying, man, wait, you're going to hit, yeah, exactly. So you don't have to go back to work at 73.
Hmm.
She's retiring at 60. You know what I mean? And that's not a good look. That no one wants to do that. So I'm glad you brought that up, man, because that's huge. Where, especially like, do you know of any teachers, administrators, whatever, that they have one school district, they work there, then they have another one, they have another one, and then they just deuce out on the whole system and they go do something else. They've got a trail of like started up, retirement accounts, just kind of waiting out there in the water, just chilling. I got 49 in
Yeah.
this one. I got 100 in this one. I got 63 in this one. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm assuming you do, because I have a ton of clients that are in that position.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of, in Texas at least, the retirement system would transfer over with you and
Mhm.
move with you. So typically, you'd kind of keep the same vehicle for the most part.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, there are a lot of people that, it's interesting because when you were talking, it made me think about the fact that the first time that I had a real financial stewardship conversation that was like a heart to heart, let's talk about where you're at and what you really need and
Hmm.
where you're trying to go and how you could do it.
Hmm.
The first conversation I had like that was with you.
Really?
So yeah, so put that into
Shut the
perspective too.
front door. Are you serious,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, dead ass. Like for real.
Wow.
Because so think about, I've worked for 3 school districts.
Hmm.
I've worked for 3 nonprofits. I've worked for the government, state, and the county.
Hmm.
And I've worked for 3 private companies.
Okay.
The only conversations there was never a conversation. It was like, hey, if you want a 401k or a 403b, here's how you can sign up for it. Here's a pamphlet.
Oh, oh Lord.
Here's how this, and you read the pamphlet and we'll send
Hmm.
you an email. It wasn't a conversation about like, hey, how can we help you with your finances, or what are your plans for retirement?
Right.
When do you plan to retire? How much, like showing numbers like, oh, at this age you could
Yeah.
potentially have, this much liquid
Sure.
cash
Sure.
available to, like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
once do I ever remember, not
Yeah.
once, anybody sitting down and saying, hey, let's, like, you know, if you don't know anything about this, we'll teach you. And if you do know something about this, let's plan with you. Not happening. And the fact that, so I think what you were describing with the school district that had, people like
Hmm.
coming in as like a assembly line, right?
Hmm.
Unfortunately is way too common. Not just in teaching and education, it's like across
That's in
the
all
board. Like,
fields.
yeah, most fields, people, that's just how financial planning is dealt with.
So
And
it's
so
before I get on my soapbox, I'm gonna keep this quick because you hit a button, made me sit up.
thought I might.
No, no, man. I'll keep it quick. I have noticed that there's so many topics in the professional world that corporations or just people in general, we plan for it. You plan for how to get the job, you plan on how to interview, you plan for what's going to happen next quarter, this quarter, next year, next five. All these things, there's so much intention, so many details go into planning and being responsible and disciplined. Wouldn't you agree? When it comes to what are you going to do when you're done working, it's like people have this assumption. There's like this quiet assumption that retirement just kind of appears.
Mhm.
And because of this thing they said when I got the job, I just signed and said, "Oh, I'll take the 401 double K2, whatever they said that was." There's no such thing. It's a 401k. Yeah, I signed some retirement thing, and then we just turn a blind eye and say, "I'm good."
Mhm.
And there's no planning. There's no intention. And then, but only way they might be some intention is was, my company's matching. I put in this amount and they match. So you're playing Monopoly for 30 daggum years. But that's not planning. That's just called putting more money in that somebody's going to tax. And there's a reason why they're doing it because they get tax benefits by matching. But you don't understand the game. All you're doing is just buying what's on the pamphlet. Ooh, they said they will match. And I got a retirement account. Have no idea how it works. It's like having a car but you don't have a motor inside, but don't realize it because you never looked under the damn hood. So, it boggles me how many people just think retirement's just like some angel behind the 65 door. I turn 65 and there's Mr. Retirement. And he's gonna coddle me and hold me till my grave. What?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that the truth of what is actually behind that door is a job at Walmart.
It's dude, bruh,
I mean,
bruh.
for real, like I can't. It is mind-boggling how many folks that are older and some significantly older than 65 that I interact with daily,
Hmm. Yes.
and hourly based jobs because retirement wasn't enough.
Yep.
And so, but to be honest with you, and to be fair, like I was one of those people.
Yeah.
I didn't really
Dude.
I'll out of sight, out of mind is a big thing, right? Like, oh, well, 65 is so far away, and
Yep.
right now I'm trying
Come
to
on.
focus on X, Y,
Yeah.
Z. But I will say that one of the things that really brought me into this conversation, like both ears,
Hmm.
attentive,
Hmm.
was the living benefit.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that that's what is so invaluable about the two vehicles that we work with, is that
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, plan for the future and retirement, and also recognize there's living benefit that can
Hmm.
hit you this year, next year, and the year after that,
Hmm.
that you should be also working with, so
Yes.
that you as a person are utilizing that money to make
Yes.
that money grow. So then, by the time you get to retirement, you should have like, 7 figures.
Yep.
And when you're there, you should like be balling and also know how to make your money make money, so that you can keep doing it until you're gone. Don't like, not this like, well, hopefully if I'm hit retirement age and I'm able to have $100,000 hopefully a year, hopefully the cost of living won't be so high to where that won't be enough for me or whatever. Don't hope like that. Just be like, no, I want to get in the financial growth game, so I understand how finances grow, and I'm utilizing the right vehicles to make my finances grow, so that I could use it now, that I can use it next year, and when I'm 65, I'm like vetted in this process. I know what to do. I have cash accumulation that's built up because of these vehicles, and now I'm like really making some moves, you know?
Bro, I'm gonna give you one little hustle real quick, because I love how you just broke that down. Somebody's ears just perked up, was like, what? Like, I want to talk to Travis just because of what he just said right there.
Mm,
That so there's so many things you can do with these vehicles. We don't have to go down a rabbit hole, but I got excited about something. What if you could pay for your, say, let's say a house. Let's say you bought a $300,000 house,
mm.
and you could pay for your house and still have your money. Exactly. Let me break
Break
it
that
down.
down.
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly. So let's say, so a lot of people, what they do is like, they don't have any money, so they go get a loan,
okay.
right? It's a typical mortgage kind of situation. But what if there's a way? So you build up to it. You play the tape forward. You say, okay, look, I want to do that. All right. So in order to do that, I want to go ahead and get my own money. So I saved and raised and earned 300 grand. Now, if you were able to do that, and to say, most people would say, I'm gonna take that 300 grand and go buy my house cash. I'm walking there with a check at closing, and I'm gonna just put it on the table and be like, look at there, look what I just did. Okay.
Drain the account.
Now you drained your account, you drained the
Hmm.
300, and now you've got a beautiful home, wonderful, that's great, but you don't have your money anymore. And you're like, well, yeah, why would I have my money? Because I just bought the
Yeah, I
house.
had to buy the
Yeah, I
house.
had to buy the house. Mondo, that's stupid. I paid the money and I don't have it because I now have the house. Duh, it's
Mhm.
basic, transaction there, bro. Hold on, time out. You know where I'm going.
I do. It's just, my mindset has shifted though since I've gotten into this, and to be
Uh-huh.
honest, I could see myself back in the day
Yeah,
thinking that way.
yeah.
Like,
No,
why,
so
if it costs 300 and I have to spend 300, how would I keep my 300? That doesn't make any sense.
exactly. How can I keep my 300 that I earned for the house, get the house, but still keep my money? That makes that what? That math ain't mathing. Oh,
Mm,
it's very mathing, very much mathing. So here's the simple, just high level situation. So what you could do, you earn your 300 and the house is over there. You want to buy it. You say, okay,
okay.
before you hand it off to the owner of that house that you're buying it from, you pass it through a vehicle that it can sit there and grow and gain interest, and then you borrow against it. You borrow, you can get like a LTV loan, which is called a loan to value. You could do that,
Okay.
or you could put it
Okay.
in IUL. Okay. Two different vehicles. Your 300 is sitting here. You take a loan against it. So you're not using your money, you're using someone else's money,
Mm, mm-hmm,
other people's money. OPM, I talk about it all the time. Use their money, they pay for it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Okay. And now you go to work. All right. You basically having a mortgage. So you go to work and you pay the payment, right?
mm-hmm.
All the while, your 300 is still doing what?
Growing.
Sitting
So
here. You're right.
you're paying the money back.
You're
You're
paying the
paying the loan
money
back.
back, but you still
However,
at
your account value stayed at 300.
at 300. And here's the cool deal. Once you pay the loan back, You have the house and your
Mm-hmm.
300.
Mm.
See that?
I see what you did there.
So
Well,
what you
actually, yeah, but if hold on, that's incorrect. No, you missed something, because you have the house and you have your 300. But if my math is math and right,
hmm
just based on I'm gonna get my calculator here to make sure. Based
you
on some of the illustrations I've seen lately, I believe that you would have, let's say you did that in a year's time,
uh-huh.
on a conservative rate, you would have $319,950, because you would
Correct.
have gotten 6.65% interest on that 300
Exactly right. So you actually have more money than what you actually put aside.
into the
So
house.
into the house. So then what you put into the house. So the
Hmm.
key part is to teach people how to use other people's money.
Hmm.
Now
So if
people,
you had the 300 in the bank, right? So
yep,
let's
sitting here.
go in that. So you have the 300 in the bank because you
hmm
saved it or whatever,
hmm
but you borrow out of your IUL.
hmm
You take the loan out, which in my understanding is like a 48-hour process, no credit check, and it's a signed
Yeah,
document.
yeah, it could be like two to five business days.
Okay,
Company.
that's
Yeah.
that's crazy quick.
Yep.
And so you get the loan in less than a week. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to pay, let's say 200 out of my bank account back to the loan.
hmm
But but in my actual IUL, because I'm putting it in there, that money that I'm paying the loan back
hmm
to is going to grow.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of different ways to
It's
cut it.
now it's going to get a high interest return on
Right.
the money I'm paying
Right.
myself back with.
Yes, there's a couple different ways to cut it. That was the longer way, but that works too.
Okay.
For the layperson who's like listening to this, like, what the hell are they talking about right now? Trust me, you can have your money. This is the rich people do. Rich people don't use their own money.
Yeah, I've heard this.
They don't use their own money.
Hmm.
It is worth. Okay, take this statement to the bank. Rich people will tell you, my high net worth clients and even my mentors will tell you, it is worth borrowing money and getting charged interest, a percent or two or three or four, depending on the deal. It is worth that interest to keep 100% of the risk off their money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sir, let me borrow that $100,000 and charge me 2%, because if I use my own money, I'm at risk 100%.
I see.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to
Because
keep my,
if it gets lost, it gets lost.
right? If it gets lost, it gets lost. But if I lose your money over there, okay, well then I got a situation. But guess what? I can handle that because I still got my money.
Mm-hmm.
We can figure
Mm-hmm.
out an arrangement. I can
Mm.
file bankruptcy. I could do whatever. What do you want to do? But guess what? We can settle. We could do whatever. But I still have my money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's like I've talked to clients and they're so bent on the interest and the interest. It's like there's a poverty mentality that wears me out. Is if I hear one more person talk to me about, well, what was the interest? You know what? Hold on, man.
Well, the interest, yeah, but the interest, when people are asking what's the interest, they're always asking because they've had too much experience with the interest only going one way,
Right. Correct.
from
Yeah.
someone taking interest
Interest.
on like charging them interest on the money that they're
Say
giving.
it. That's
But the
exactly right.
truth of the matter is, yeah, what's the interest you're getting charged? A fraction of what the interest that you're making. Like, it's like less
Dude,
than a third.
I told one guy,
What is the interest you are getting from this? Oh,
if you get a loan, like that your house thing and you take that little money and you say, okay, I'm gonna get a loan and they charge you 3%.
mm-hmm,
Cool. Over here, you're making 9 to 12.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So you're gonna net 6 to 9.
mm-hmm,
That's a W. What are we talking about interest for?
mm-hmm.
Complaining.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even comparing the same, because you're making more, your 6 to 9 or 9 to 12 is making, it's accumulating more interest on more money than the money you took out, that you're
Thank you.
paying interest for. And you're not paying at that point. You're just,
Right.
the way the money moves is that because you're in that game,
Right.
you're able to have that accumulated interest, which also has a floor. So
Right.
in the event that anything happens, like, I don't
Yep.
know, crazy talk about going to war or whatever, like, when stuff's, getting
Yep.
chaotic,
Yep.
guess what? When you have a floor, that means that your money is locked in
Right.
and
That's it.
backed by, hundreds of years of insurance on insurance to make sure that they will not have a lapse in their company.
One thing that I always tell people, and I said I had I was preaching to this guy the other night about this. Some people are they want to talk about what they want versus how to leverage and manage and steward what they have.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like let's get out of la la land for a second, come back down to earth, and let's talk about how to manage,
mm-hmm,
protect, right, and position what you have. Once we do
mm,
that, then we could talk about how do we accumulate more, how do we acquire this. It's kind of
mm-hmm,
like to me it's basic. It's like my mother used to tell me, don't have company into the house. Don't invite other things in and try to this, that, and create new until you have your house in order. Get your house in order, what you have. Clean the closet, clean the pantry, clean your room, know where everything is, make it presentable, position it the right way, have it straight, and then you can open the door and see what else is out there to maybe, you know what I'm saying? But we don't even know what's in the crib. We don't even know what's at home.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, and people are surprised when we could take their 403, their 401, or any sort of pension like that, that hasn't been mattering to them at all. You 35, you 36, 46, whatever, and you like, yeah, when I was teaching, I had this thing, I had a 403, I got two of them, I got four, I got five, whatever it is, and it doesn't really matter, man. I haven't looked at it forever. I hear this all of the time. I haven't looked at it because whatever. So you just kind of wash it away because it don't matter right now. But what if we showed you how it could matter right now
Mm-hmm.
and also matter later? So take something that you really just stuffed in the closet behind the old quilt that your grandma gave you. You stuffed it way back there. Obviously, you tell I've gotten some quilts in my day. Anyway, if you
Yeah, and they're not on the couch.
and they're not on the couch. Yeah. Got the old rust colors and browns, but mixed in with fuchsia. Anyway, so
Handmade though.
handmade though, and
Crochet.
smelling like mothballs, but
Cro
that's okay though. So
why did they always smell like mothballs?
we're
I've
chasing
never I,
squirrels, man. We're chasing squirrels. But
yeah.
but
Go ahead.
but the
Stay
point
on.
but the point is that like man, like those things that you just stuffed away
Mhm.
and it just like it doesn't matter. It's like no, it does. We
Yeah,
can
and it
make
can
it
come
matter.
back and change your day to day right now. Can change it could switch up your
It's
whole game.
everything,
Hmm.
everything, man. It's so when you can reposition stuff. So basically, what we say here at AMG before we wrap up for the night, what we like to say is, look, let us teach you and educate you on what your options are based upon what you have.
Hmm.
Okay, and we can show you our recommendation, educate you, show you what it is, and until you can repeat it back to us, we're not doing anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
Once we know you have an understanding, because your understanding has to outlast Travis and Mondo,
Hmm.
because
Yeah, I
this
mean,
is your
essentially with clients, we are a stewardship program,
yeah,
right?
one hundred percent
We're the training vehicle to train people to know how to
right.
plan for themselves
Yes, yes,
so they know how to do it. And then we'll
and we talk
present
very low.
options
Yeah,
and be like, and then here's how all of these options perform.
we talk at
But
a
you
very
need to
low
know.
level though, right?
Hmm.
A level like we're not going to talk over your head. Look, we have no ego in the sense of I don't need to talk to a client and prove how smart I think I am.
Hmm.
And you're like, glazed over. Well, I guess I trust you, Mondo, using a lot of big words. Like, I don't want that. Like, I no, keep it low level. Stuff is really simple. When you keep it simple, it's not complex. People understand it. We can make it matter today. And if you say, yep, you know what, that matters to me, I understand it. Let's do it. Okay, great. Then you give us permission to move it from this side of the pantry that you hadn't looked at for had bad lighting. You weren't even looking over there anyway, and you give us permission to move it to this well lit, top of notch floating shelf made out of oak, beautiful structure. We just move it from here to here. That's it, and literally cost you a grand total of zero.
Hmm. Hmm.
something that didn't matter. We educate you. You say, I want it to matter. Give us permission with a signature, and we help you move it from here to here for literally nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's not we. I know you get paid some sort of way.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
what's the catch?
the catch is this. The catch is we're transparent.
Mm,
We're going to tell you, you pay us nothing. The company that we switch you to protect you in your finances, we have arrangements with them. They take care of us out of their reserves.
yeah.
So if we bring them great people, great business, and they understand it, it's an awesome business relationship, a beautiful annuity contract or IUL, they take care of us. That's not your responsibility. That's the beautiful thing about it. So for teachers, teachers have been eating this up, Travis. You know that because they're like, man, I got two 401ks or two 403s. I didn't even know I could do it. I thought I had to wait. Like, no,
Mm,
we need to reposition. So we put some gasoline on that bad boy and then grow and protect it
hmm
so it's not going to fall. So anyway, let me get off my little thing here, but this is a phenomenal conversation, dude. Go ahead and say what you're going to say because I know you're not
I
done.
mean, no, I mean, well, I want to just double back and keep it a buck with
Yeah.
in regards to what you were just saying, like
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the level of transparency, like why would we spend time with people really getting to know them and really like fostering that relationship
Right.
when most companies will go in and do an assembly line and they still get people signed up. And
Mm-hmm.
then number two, we're life insurance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows somebody that's talked to them about life insurance in the last
Mm-hmm.
like 3 months, right?
Yep.
Somebody's hit them up and been like, hey, do you have life insurance? And and why are we going to go into the level of detail to help people understand how to utilize these vehicles now?
Right.
And the truth behind the reality and what you're saying is like we're doing this one because when we care for people the right way,
Mm-hmm.
those people's lives benefit.
Yep.
And we live in a time and a day and age where that matters now. Like all this like pseudo integrity stuff where people are like really just hooking it for the money, and salespeople that are just hooking it for the money, that's coming to an end because it's too easy to see through. Like stop doing that. Like
100%.
we want people's lives to benefit. We're humans.
And I will say this even on a spiritual note. I know that when you take care of people the right way and with integrity, transparency, and with full 100% effort to take it to make sure they're taken care of, it comes back to you.
100%.
It is not one client that is responsible for the success of AMG.
Mm-hmm.
Not one client can be that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in this business well over a decade, and I know that in people that I've helped, the tears that have been shed, the relationships that I've built, I got some clients that are closer to me than some on my own family members, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is priceless because you're helping people position themselves where they may not have saw a way before, didn't have the acumen, the understanding, the tools, the resources, or somebody that actually just gave a damn. You
Yeah, I
know?
mean, I think that's your superpower. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
I've witnessed, I've watched you with clients, with employees, with people across the board. You the focus of the conversation for Mondo is like Mondo's like, how can I help you?
mm-hmm.
That's it.
Always,
Like I
always,
really need to figure that out.
always. Yep.
You're not the numbers, the illustrations, the policies, whatever we generate, that'll come after
Mm-hmm.
you figure out what this person needs.
And you know what?
And that's because you're leading from the heart.
Yeah. Here's a big kicker, Travis. There's another way I help people too. And this is gonna sound weird, but I think you'll feel me because you know me well enough. Um, Sometimes I can really help people when I tell you, thank you for all that information. This sounds awesome. I love what you have. Keep it in place. There's nothing I can do for you.
Definitely.
Or for whatever other reason, you know what? Thank you for all that. After everything we've looked through and based on our skill set, our resources, we've come to the conclusion that, you know what, you're good. You don't need us.
Mm-hmm.
That is helping you just as much as me moving something for you
Mm-hmm.
because now you know you're more certain about where you are. You're assured, reassured. If there's giving
Mhm.
confirmation, because some people just walk, they're bewildered, man. They're out there lost financially trying to figure it out. And when I can say we've uncovered everything, you don't need to do anything with us. You're
Mhm.
good. If you need to run something past us, we'll talk to you. Call us. Let's get on Zoom. Let's go phone call. Whatever, text me, whatever. But as far as doing something today,
Mhm.
there's
It's not
nothing
the
to
day.
do. So doesn't
Mhm.
it feel good that we actually found a solution? The solution is we don't need to do anything. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. We just eased your mind.
yeah, then you should be able to sleep at night now. You're
Mhm.
not doing anything wrong. Nothing's bad. Nothing's out of whack. You're good.
Mhm.
Hey, high five, girl. High five, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal when you go to the doctor, right?
For real.
You
For
know,
real.
but yeah. And I think the second piece too is that because then people are like, everybody says this, I'm heart based, I do it because I care,
True.
and a lot of people do is also as a
Yeah.
marketing element. And I'm not doing it from that place. I think that I can also break down why we do it that way, because we won't structure policies that are going to be in our highest and best interest for commission. Like,
No.
we won't do it.
Nope.
Because if you were, if in terms of life insurance, if someone's selling you a massive, massive death benefit, then
Mhm.
most likely they're doing it from the place of what the insurance company is going to pay for having done so, unless if the client really, really wanted that, which in most cases, clients aren't looking for
Mm-mm.
$10 million death benefits.
Not in our sphere,
Yeah,
typically.
I mean,
Right.
true, but
Right.
I'm saying a lot of clients are also looking for the liquid
Cash.
cash and
Yeah.
cash accumulation and living benefit.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, or at least they want to know that that's available. Like, if
Hmm.
clients have an IUL and don't know that that's available, that's a problem. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, I think that we will structure a policy that may not benefit us financially as much, because if the customer really has a great experience and they really get in a better financial situation,
Hmm.
the client's going to be able to work with us multiple times. Like, we're going to see their come up. We're going to watch
Hmm.
them and their finances grow, their family grow, their position get better, and we're going to watch them do more with their money. And so then we get to build a relationship with them, so that then when they're ready for the next step, they're ready for the
Hmm.
next thing, they feel confident that we can handle that. We're fostering a relationship that can go a long way.
Yeah.
And for that reason, to have client retention, to me, is more important than to be selling low quality
All
products.
day. All day, man. All day. Very well said, man. I appreciate that. There's nothing else to add to that at all. I love that. Of course, yeah, I can swim in that all day long. I always, I do. I'm not going to ask what you said. I'm gonna just kind of like you're gonna tag me in, like, um, to you have to study this business, and there's a lot of insurance or even financial professionals, but I would say mainly insurance people. Let's talk about not financial professionals. Let's say insurance people uh, that literally have zero clue of what they're doing with IULs and annuities. They don't have the back office support that we do. They don't have the acumen, and that's one of the issues. So one thing we do is policy reviews, annuity reviews. You don't have to necessarily do anything with us, but we can let you know if you're in good shape or if you're going to be on struggle street. We're going to let you know.
Hmm.
Okay. Our transparency as an organization, is I think second to none. Again, we're not thirsty. It that never plays out well, man. It's like we work with the people that we're supposed to work with. Right? It is what it is. And we have some that we're not supposed to, and we don't.
Hmm.
And that's cool. So, for those who are listening, teachers, educators, and the like, when it comes down to your retirement information, when it comes down to entrepreneurship ideas, how to be maybe your own banking, private banking, how to leverage certain tools, and how to leverage OPM, other people's money, how to get creative with the finances, stuff like that. Like I never look at a dollar I get and say, you know what, let me just give it to somebody. No, I'm always thinking about what can I do with this so Benjamin can have some babies, and then I'll give somebody some Benjamin. Like I want to multiply before I start subtracting.
Hmm.
And when you gamify it and you learn the money game and different things, and we're always learning as well, it becomes fun and not as anxious. You don't see money in your budget and start panicking. You actually start getting excited. Hey
Mm,
man, been there. Okay. I won't go into that now, but I've been there.
mm,
And when you can, when you get to the point where you
mhm,
can gamify it and you be able
mhm.
to, and and start looking at like, man, I know how to, have my money make money while I'm sleeping. What a good place to be. So,
Yeah.
man, with that said, we could talk to midnight. I know.
Yeah, I
But
know. Yeah, it's probably time to.
yeah, it's all good, man. We can continue this for sure. And definitely with those who are watching, if you're watching this and you hung out with us, definitely there's going to be clips flying around too. Definitely reach out if you want to learn more about anything that we've said, especially if you're a teacher, educator. Hit us up, explore, find out what's going on with those accounts that you worked so hard for to build up. Those pamphlets that they had you sign about 401ks and 403s and all that. Maybe you knew something about it, maybe you didn't. Maybe somebody set up an IRA for you. Maybe you had an inherited one. Maybe you had an IRA rollover. Whatever you had, I don't know. But you want to make sure that it's performing the way that you want it to, and that you are educated on actually what it does so they can be there when you need it. Okay. So with that said, man, Trav, appreciate it, man. Appreciate the idea of having this conversation,
Definitely.
and offering such information. I learned a lot myself. I love it when I can learn. So you got to surround yourself with smart people, man. You learn stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
same
yeah.
goes both ways,
So
man.
I'm glad you're smart. That's what I'm saying. That's the point.
Hey, no, yeah, appreciate it, appreciate it. Hey, I'm glad
Yeah.
you're smart too.
Oh man. Some days, some days. So, hey guys, thank you so much for hanging out with the AMG podcast. We will have plenty more episodes. Reach out. You can find us, say Travis at amg-associates.com or Mondo at amg-associates.com. You can DM us, hit us up through YouTube, IG, whatever you're seeing us at, and we'd be glad to send you our calendar so that way you can get some time with us on a one-on-one and we can just have a fun, healthy, dynamic conversation. All right. So, with that said, again, thank you for joining the podcast with us, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Y'all be good. See ya.